So here's the review of the Vrd Carbon versus the gspeed V4. And gotta admit, happy and sad at the same time with the Vrd Carbon, with the whole situation of it, which I'll explain later. First, I'll just go over the trucks there for the people that haven't watched the channel so they know what we're working with here. This truck here is a gspeed V4. It's the Gold Flake carbon chassis, and it has the Fusion SE 1800 kV motor, deluxe portal trans, which is a really nice trans, hardcore RC, double bend rear link, lower links, and it's got the straight front links because it'll hit the motor, and the upper's bent to clear the motor. Injora steel drive shafts, SCX10 3 portals under it actually, and I kept breaking front portals. First I snapped the panhard bar mount off twice, got that brace for it, then I kept breaking the C's off of them, so I just got tired of that. So this is a trio aluminum housing, has overdrive portal gears, brass diff covers, brass knuckles, brass portal weights. Moving back from there, we got the Power Hobby 729 MBL servo, which is a really sweet servo. I actually got one for that too coming, so that's my favorite servo for the money. We got the Fly Sky GT5 radio, and that's the receiver I'm running in here. The shocks are actually Ascent Fusion shocks, and they have mini T-springs on them with D's shock bands on it. And I have the front springs, internal springs still in, so it holds it down, and the rear internal springs are out, so it flexes a little bit better in the rear. 3D printed sliders. It's the gspeed 3D printed sliders, basically. They're not even technically sliders, I guess, according to Sorka. They're basically just electronic trays, but they're pretty much little mini sliders. They're 3D printed, but you can see the gold in the chassis there. It's pretty cool looking carbon chassis. Amazon, cheap bumper in the back. Rock Bart's comp bumper. Alt foams with G8 compound, really scrubbed in nice Hyrax tires. That's basically it for this truck that I can think of. It has brass portal covers in the rear. They're not weights. It's just like the size of the factory portal cover, and that's it. But this thing's balanced pretty good. Chassis mounted servo. It's got the G-Speed one on there and the multi chassis platform, I guess it is. Panhard bar mount, you can adjust it. It's a good truck. It's the Fusion 1800 kV, same as this truck. So this truck here is Vrd Carbon kit, Fusion 1800 kV, and other than that, it's bone stock. I did 50 weight oil in the shocks, and I think I moved this one to the farthest rear hole, and this one to the second one back from the front at the top. And I put 50 weight oil in it, which seems, this thing's nice. I mean, for not having shock bands or anything, this thing stays planted. It just feels good, right exactly how it is. I wouldn't even really want to change anything on it, honestly. It doesn't even have any, it has a stock metal, whatever they are, portal cover weights. They're like not brass, they're some kind of metal. But that's it for this truck. It's stock. And I'm going to put one of these Power Hobby servos in it yet. And I'm going to start running cash comps with it. It's that good. I'm not doing nothing else to it. And that's why it's upsetting, because I put 3 months worth of time and effort into this truck to get it to where it's at right now. And it took a lot of parts. You know, you have to order. It's like a custom built truck almost. You got to make sure you got all the right stuff. Like, it's kind of overwhelming a little bit to put one of these together for the first time. This was the first one I ever built, and you're trying to figure out what you should get and all that stuff. and you get it all figured out finally, and then wait forever for all the different parts to come from all the different places, and then you finally put it together and start tuning it and changing stuff, you know, and all that. And before you know it, you have a couple months into just tuning the truck after you get it together and everything, and taking it different places, running some comps with it, making some changes, you know, until you get it to where it's at. And then what happens is you buy a VRD Carbon kit, put it together in 3 hours, and you put the wheels and tires off your old truck on it that are already scrubbed in a little bit, and it goes almost just as good as this. I was like sad, happy, and like, what the heck? At the same time, I'm like, geez, this thing's percentages less good than that, and it's not a lot. It's just a couple percent. Like, it's so close. I know that this goes a little bit better in most situations because I drove it more and stuff, but this thing is super close, and it's stock, and this thing's fully built. And this thing, if you built this truck, would cost you a whole nother VRD Carbon kit on top of what I have into this to build this. This is 2 VRD Carbon kits with electronics and everything in one versus this truck. So just something to think about. If I could go back, a buddy of mine was like, oh yeah, build a VRD Carbon. And I was like, at the time, you know, I had a SCX 10.2 I was kind of messing with. I just got back into the hobby and I haven't been in it for like probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. Whenever they had the Poison Spider Wraith last, and that was new, I got one. That was the last crawler I had before I got back into it this time. And it was just one of them things where if you're like me and you get into stuff way too far really quick and you go overboard, you might as well skip all the base camp, the SCX 10.2, the Red Cat Ascent Fusion, just skip all of them and just go right to the... It spirals out of control. This 3 months ago, sitting on this table, was an SCX 10.2 Cherokee with just brass diff covers, brass link mounts, and deep woods tires, and a brass bumper mount. And now look what we got sitting here. Like 3 months later, we got a fully built crawler and a crawler that's probably the best out of the box crawler that they make by far, kit wise. You could take this and you could beat team drivers at comps with it if you knew what you're doing and you got some comps under your belt. So basically, if I would have built this first, instead of tweaking with this a million times, I could have just took this straight to comps and already been doing good probably by now. I mean, it's a good truck, and it's crazy that it's that good. Like, Vanquish must have did their research, because I feel like I'm trying to sell the thing, but I do sell cars and stuff, but Vanquish did their research on this thing and made one heck of a truck. That's the only way it could be this good out of the box. Literally all I did was shock oil and a little shock tuning. And other than that, it's exactly how you would put it together. It even has a 28-hour servo in it, and it still goes good. But I have it cranked up with the Fusion SE. You can change the volts to the servo, and I have it on the higher setting. So that actually gives this cheap servo a little more juice, but it barely even will wiggle the truck. This thing will wiggle the truck across the table just about. So that's basically my thoughts on this Carbon, and I'll put some videos in here. I have videos of this truck and this truck both running lines at Sam Lou. You can see the difference. I mean, some of the stuff, it looks like that goes better than this, but this still has a slight edge on that, but it isn't a lot. It's a few percent. Like I said, it's kind of sad, kind of happy, all at the same time. It's just upsetting that when you put this much money into something and time and effort and just tuning and so much of your time every night of the week just tweaking it for a while, you know, till you get it right where you want it, which is right how it is now. But with these wheels and tires, it's exactly how that truck needs to be. I don't even want to change anything on it. It's that good. And then I pull this straight out of a box, build it in 3 hours, and it's like, see what it'll do here. So far, this truck's only made it up this maybe like 2 or 3 times. It doesn't seem like so far the interior isn't really hurting it. The extra weight I have on it, I mean, basically. Look at that. Right up it. Oh man.
Really good. It's just this good, maybe a tad bit better than this, maybe, but it ain't. It's such a little amount now. It's kind of enough to piss you off. Look at that. Stir it up. This thing is unbelievable. I'm sold. I'm really sold on this. It's really upsetting to me that I put as much money into that G-Speed now. The only takeaway I got is I can take the servo out of it for an extra one for this. Over here. But so that's that. One like that. That would be crazy. But see, here's how one try turns into a whole battery pack with this stuff. So what if I back up here?